I'm Jackie, and
I'm Kyle,
and we're excited to show you some really fun things. Well, I'm going to share with you my inspiration today is a log cabin block. I love log cabin blocks. I don't know, I've just been drawn to them, and there's so many different ways you can do. But I really wanted to show you today to use this Creative Grids. It's called Log Cabin Trim Tool. You can actually, you can do two different sizes.
Nice.
So there's
so
a
it's
12.
multi.
Yes, so it has a lot of different uses for it. So if you notice on this ruler, there are a lot of squares. Hopefully you can kind of see that. So these two, there's another white one that's hard to see.
Oh, yeah.
But you'll use this for the 12-inch block. But then down here on this other end is where you'll use for your 6-inch block.
Okay.
Okay. And on the ruler it tells you what size. The first thing that you have to do is cut your center square exactly. So for the 12-inch, I did a 3.5-inch square, and for the 6-inch, you do a 2-inch.
Oh, okay.
So you cut that exactly. Then the rest of it, you can make sure that your strips are cut at least a 1.5-inch for the 12-inch block. Okay. You can make this scrappy. You can do all kinds of different things with it. So I wanted to be a little more...
I love these colors.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of plan my colors a little bit more, but you could find anything out of your stash to do this. So I'm going to walk you through on how to use this Creative Grids ruler. It's really a lot of fun. So put my little paper. So the first round, we're going to talk about rounds. Okay, so they're
rounds on a square peg.
So we're going to go around the log cabin.
Around a square.
So I'm going to start out with, and I'll let you sew. If you want
You're
to
so
sew.
nice. Yep.
So I always have to. So here's my 3.5-inch square that I'm going to start out with. So I'm going to use my little handy dandy instructions because I'm a very visual learner. So the first one is I am going to sew, if you look on my block, this one right here is the first block, the first thing that you sewed.
Okay.
To your center square. So these two are going to be my first ones. So I always like to lay it out because I'm always sewing it wrong. So I'm going to take my square, and I'm going to sew just a light piece. And I don't have these cut in any length or anything.
No,
I just cut
just the
strips.
width.
Yeah. So I'm going to have you sew 1/4 of an inch.
Oh my goodness, that's longer.
It is longer, but don't fret.
Oh, okay.
Okay, don't worry.
Okay.
We're all good.
All right.
So sew a 1/4 inch seam just from here to here. And then you can stop when you run out of the orange fabric. Okay.
And I'm not back stitching.
No.
And I'm watching right at my presser foot.
Yeah,
I'm not watching
and
anything
that's
else.
how I love to do my 1/4 inch seam, because it really makes it it's easier for me, and the surface area of your presser foot holds that fabric down, and it makes it really nice. And now let me show you how to trim it. So then it will be, okay, I'll trim it on that side, turn it around, and I'll trim it there.
Now it's the same
Now
length.
it's the same. I can take it to my iron and press it open. Voila.
Okay, is there a certain way I have to press it?
I always press it outwards.
Outward?
Yeah. And so then when you're all done, look at this. We're going to pretend that you...
Magic. I'm so good.
You did so
I'm
good.
so good.
She sewed this whole thing, this first round.
Okay.
And so now it's time to trim, and I'm going to use the ruler. And this is what's in a really important step, because if you don't trim it, then
Hey, it looked
your
pretty
block,
square.
your block is going to be extra big when you're done. And this is where I ran into the problem, is I had to get it in my mind that you have, after the 4th square, you have to trim.
Okay.
So sew the 4, trim. So the
before
next
you go on to the next one.
Yeah. So I learned that the hard way.
And you've lined this square up with
So that's
square.
what's really nice about this ruler, is because now I will center my center square. Actually, I did a pretty good job
You did a really good job.
that. And I've got lines here that I can line up, so then I know that it's nice and straight. So then all I have to do is take and trim it.
So you're going to make that strip a little bit wider than what it really is.
Yes, and it tells you here it has to be at least 1 1/4 or 2 1/2, 2 1/4. I actually made mine 2 and 2 1/2. Okay. So then we can just throw that away. So I have trimmed this side. Now I have to trim the other side. So I'm going to flip my block around.
That's easy.
Okay. Now I'm going to line up my square again in the center. Make sure that my lines are lined up on my sewing line, on the stitch lines.
That's amazing.
Okay. I can
do this.
Yeah, you can. You can line it up here, and you can also line it up here so that...
Look at that good sewing I did.
So you did so well. I'm so proud of you, Kyle. Good. Okay. So now I'm going to trim... Now I'm going to trim the...
That trimming is amazing what it does.
Well, because then it makes it so that it's perfect, okay? So there's my perfect square. And now I'm ready to add my next
You're just going to do that again?
Yes.
And do I always add on this same side?
So, yes, you you'll put your light. You'll do light, and then you'll do the dark and dark.
Okay.
If you wanted to do it that way. But if you were going to do this all one, then it doesn't really matter. So now I'm going to go to round 2. Okay.
Ooh, round 2.
And Kyle has been so good that she's already done her round 2.
Amazing.
You are amazing. So here's our round 2. We've sewn our...
I get what you're going to do now.
Yeah.
I know what you're going to do. That's awesome. That's
cool.
genius.
Okay, so now I used this one. So if I used this square, then look how much I would. So I'm going to move it up to...
if you trim that again.
Yeah, I know. So then I need to use my white square. Okay, there's a little white square here.
Oh, I didn't even notice that one.
Yeah, so you'll line that up, and I'm going to do the same thing where I will. See, you can see I've unpicked that because I forgot to trim before I went on. So I highly recommend that you trim because it looks really funny if you don't. All right, so there's my next round. So then you're not going to trim this last one because this is kind of your center, unless you need to square it up. Okay.
And
so
look at
this
how
last
good
one,
we did.
Yeah, it looks really, really good.
Nice.
So this will be our center square.
But if you did have to trim it,
then you would trim it at this point. If you wanted to do it scrappy, you wouldn't have to really think about it.
No.
And just keep going.